That seems fitting.
Mm-hmm.
So,
we have some bad news.
yeah.
The clips you've seen before this clip will be of me describing what we thought was happening over the
made
weekend.
a video.
I started.
Oh. Arlo.
So that's what we thought was happening. But we got some different results, I guess, and I want to talk about it really quick before we tell you the news. Basically, we were worried because Toby has been slow to get up while working, and he's been overheating. Like, his ears will turn red, he gets really flushed, and, like, just doesn't want to work. So we were concerned about a couple different things. Respiratory, cardiac, arthritis.
He's been doing a couple things like, instead of jumping on the bed,
he'll climb up on the bed.
And into the car and stuff instead of, like, jumping. And while he had done this previously,
Jinx.
It seemed to get a little bit more serious recently, like where it was...
Especially with the seasons just changing.
It seemed to start impeding on his work. And before, I mean, like... And if I ever noticed that it seemed like he didn't want to work, obviously I would have pulled him. But it didn't seem like that was the problem necessarily up until really recently.
So we got the x-rays done, and I will be making a separate update video for the vet.
Because we had another incident with them.
We went with the same vet because that was who could see us the soonest.
The primary vet could see us the soonest.
So
for
otherwise...
diagnostic, for the x-rays.
For, like, diagnostic
We did
testing.
go to the service dog vet in terms of just getting him evaluated and seen so that we had some ideas of, like, how to move forward.
And they recommended we go to the primary vet for x-rays.
Which they got him next day. His specialist, like his internal medicine specialist, couldn't see him for 3 weeks, so I need to get ahead of the game there.
I will just warn you that I'm being serious, but the reason that I'm not, like, crying and upset is because I was crying and upset last night because I thought that this might happen. And so
I
now...
think we've been talking about it for a couple of days.
We've been talking about it for a couple of days, and I think that, like, while it's really upsetting, I at least am trying to...
I just get uncomfortable crying on camera.
Right. I don't like to do that either.
Because I'm really struggling to process everything. So basically...
Everybody processes things in different ways, and...
I mean, I don't normally
process...
for no reason, but...
Right. I process things
I
like
cried
this.
Morning.
Right. So she cried this morning, I cried last night.
I'll probably cry tonight. I get to take more meds.
There will be that sort of thing happening, but for right now, I think I'm trying to process with some forms of humor. But I'm going to try to be serious. So just letting you know that this, whatever I'm emulating now is not, saying that I'm not taking this seriously. Okay, just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm also that way. I'm processing. So basically, what has happened is we got his results this morning.
From the radiologist.
And
then the interpretation from the primary veterinarian.
And the issue we're having with the vet was that I asked for those records when they got them, and they refused to send them to me, so.
Okay, so basically, this is the interpretation from for the findings. They did 5 different views of the different radiographs. They found
2 were of his hips, and 3 were of his thoracic/cardiac/ esophageal, whatever. It was what was requested by his internal medicine vet.
So basically they said that there's generalized moderate
myopathy.
Megaly.
Where?
That first sentence.
Cardiomegaly.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is. The word is right here.
No, it's not.
There's mild interstitial lung pattern throughout the dorsal caudal lung fields. So there's some of that that they can see in the lungs, but there's no other like abnormalities.
So basically, in layman's terms, what they're saying is that he has an enlarged heart, which most likely, I guess, from what I'm understanding, it's not most likely genetic. It's most likely caused by heartworm.
Right. And Toby has, we believe he's had heartworm twice. He had it once at the rescue before you adopted him. And then once you adopted him, you found out he had heartworm when you adopted him, right?
And I think from how I read the records that he had it twice, but I'm not 100%. I guess I'd have to look through it again.
Even only having heartworm once can cause this sort of condition. And I did let you know, I mean, like I told everybody, heartworm can cause lasting effects. And...
But we weren't obviously going to just rehome him because he had heartworm, obviously.
Right. So
we weren't going to say, oh, you can't be a summer stock anymore. Congrats.
And I'm not we're not gonna talk too much about this, but, and you can cut this if you'd like, but the trainer that did the temperament test and told Michaela to adopt Toby for service work and did his training for a while before I took over, basically said that that he would be able to work after heartworm and that nothing would be, like everything would be fine, there would be no lasting stuff, but obviously that's not the case.
And even the vet, as weird as they are, they also said that there are lasting effects.
Right. All the vets that we spoke to about it did say that.
Now, he had a heart murmur right after, I just want to put this in to help people understand. He didn't have a heart murmur right after heartworm, but they said most likely that would go away. They thought they heard it right before his dental surgery, but they had a couple vets listen and they didn't hear it. So that was kind of one of our key tell signs of like,
right, to
something
be honest,
was wrong.
The different vets and the different veterinary appointments that you've gone to with him, basically they're on and off about if he has one.
Right.
They'll say
so
like...
it's very minimal if he has it.
Right. They'll say like, oh, we can hear it, and then like another vet will check and they'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then, like, we go to the next appointment and nobody hears it. Then
you could go to the same vet and they go, oh, I don't hear it anymore.
Right.
But then the next vet's like, oh, yeah.
It's always, if he did have a heart murmur, depending on the grade, obviously he would stop working.
Right.
But
and we had talked about that and we're like, well, it'll be down the road. We'll prepare for it kind of thing.
Right. Since none of the vets ever seems to agree, we decided that it must not be that big of an issue.
And I did, when they thought they heard it for the dental surgery, I did say maybe we should do like a cardiologist referral, and they were like, no, I don't think we need it. And
we've basically just been listening to the vets.
Yeah.
So the remainder of the lung tissue and fields appear to be normal.
So basically what that's saying is they think they saw some like residual
a mild bronchiointestinal pattern that indicates a history of respiratory disease.
Yeah, so it's thought that maybe he had some kind of respiratory condition.
But then there's no obvious changes on the x-ray that would indicate a cause for overheating. However, knowing that he has an enlarged heart, that is what's causing those symptoms.
Right.
So, due to the enlargement of the heart and the history of heartworm disease, the radiologist does recommend that Toby seek out a cardiology consult. So basically, no matter what, no matter what happens in terms of like anything, he's gonna continue seeing a veterinarian and change of lifestyle in order to make sure that he is as happy, as healthy as possible. And then the pelvic x-rays. So
he doesn't have arthritis, as far as we can tell.
That's not what this says.
Oh.
So basically what was happening is that like slower to get up sort of thing, we went and saw his service dog veterinarian. The veterinarian that we see for all service work stuff, just because they're a little bit more educated. They said that they noticed kind of some discomfort in terms of his back legs. And we thought, oh, well, we're not 100% sure what that is. And they said that we should get x-rays. So we did. And we were looking for
and he's
arthritis.
Always been discomfort back there.
Right. He's kind of always had a little bit of discomfort with touching. But in his past mobility tests, it was never to the point where he was not approved for anything. You know, it was never to the point where they said he has arthritis or he has hip dysplasia. It was never there. So when we did these x-rays, it was because it had gotten to a point where that was considerable. So Toby's pelvic x-rays do indicate that he has some lumbosacral spondylosis.
So I'll put a picture in here so you guys can like see what area we're talking about.
Put in different terms, this is a form of degenerative change, i.e. arthritis, that occurs within the spinal column. In Toby's case, this appears to be occurring in the lumbosacral region, i.e. the region of the tailbone where the lumbar spine meets the sacral spine in the region of the hip and pelvis. This can be due to instability between Toby's vertebrae, which may predispose him to back pain and or neurologic problems such as a slipped disc as he gets older. The recommendations to further assess this would be to perform an MRI.
Yeah, so basically it's that area where the tail and the back of his spine meet.
Because the bones do change a little bit, and in some pictures that might be visible. So,
but his hips, what I was trying to say with the arthritis thing is that his hips are fine.
Right, he doesn't have hip
Arthritis in the
dysplasia.
hips.
He doesn't have arthritis in the hips. He doesn't have it
In his knees or whatever.
Right, it's a degenerative change, i.e. arthritis in the spine, which
And it's not like the like the area of the spine that like you pet him. It's more towards his butt.
right.
Which makes sense with the fact that I don't know if you guys have overheard in any of the videos, and I might cut this out, but he basically taps his tail against everything. He hits it against anything, and he doesn't like. It could still like hurt. Like he might, like you would expect a dog to be like, "Ow, that hurts," but he doesn't care at all. Which I originally said, well, maybe he just doesn't have nerves there.
So conclusions from these testings is with the cardiac stuff, there's no reported heart murmur or arrhythmia. Like, so when they did this testing, they didn't find one. However, we have like had history of vets saying like, oh, he has one, oh, he doesn't. This is concerning for heart disease such as valvular insufficiency or cardiomyopathy. So there's no heart failure right now, which is really good. And then number 2, the lung pattern in the dorsal lung fields is suspect to be incidental age-related changes or potentially scarring from previous airway disease.
So that's just saying like it's not gonna change moving forward.
Right, and since he hasn't had coughing or wheezing, we're not concerned about like bronchitis. Then the last thing, the arthritis is like in the spine, is a common age-related degenerative change, although it could be indicative of chronic vertebral instability and underlying intervertebral disc hemolation, protrusion, and compression. And then they say unremarkable joints, there's no hip dysplasia. So he basically has those 2 separated conditions that are causing some of the symptoms we're seeing. So he's having that like arthritis of the spine, and the which, by the way, if you're a veterinarian and I'm like describing it wrong or something, I am just reading it from the emails from the radiologist and the veterinarian, but you can totally, if you have more information, please leave it down below. We would love to hear anything you have to say so that we can make it so Toby is as happy and healthy as possible, for any of the things I've mentioned in this whole video. But in terms of that, he doesn't have any like hip related problems, but the reason that his legs do get like he does not want his legs and hips and his back joints to be manipulated is because of that spine problem. And then the second thing is obviously the enlarged heart, which can cause like cardiac problems and heart failure. So
because of this, as of this morning, I pulled Toby out of service work. He is now medically retired. And it wasn't even like, well, I need to think about it. It was, that was it. Like, I could have waited for Gabby to say, well, you have to medically retire him.
Right.
But I was like, I called her and I said, he's done.
He's done. And even if even if she would have called me and said, like, what do you think I should do? I also would have agreed with that decision to pull him, because dogs that have disabilities, at least in my moral mind and in the eyes of the law, should not be working. They should not be service dogs.
And the reason, well, obviously an enlarged heart is a disability. Like, obviously in a human, like...
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal. But even with, and I don't know if I told you guys this, I pulled him from mobility work a couple days ago. And that was also...
That was weeks ago.
Weeks?
He hasn't done mobility work since...
No, he hasn't done mobility since, but we decided a couple days ago that he was never going to do it again.
Right. So when he started having these joint issues...
And we had originally, like, the day we got the x-rays done, I said, he's done doing mobility.
Right. We took him to the service dog vet, and basically when they said that, like, oh, he had this reaction to the joint manipulation test, he was pulled immediately.
Like, not necessarily like he was doing it and we had to stop. He hasn't been doing it in a couple months.
Because of the surgery. The surgery. He had lost, and we talked about this too, is he lost some weight, and you
lost
guys...
muscle mass.
He lost muscle mass. You guys no longer met the weight ratio.
I didn't talk about that.
Well, and that's like a completely almost separate issue, right, because that could have been fixed, right? But the things with, like, the muscle mass and the weight, those needed to be resolved first. He had lost some weight, and then he wasn't gaining muscle mass like we expected.
So we were like, well, let's not do mobility right now, but it was in our minds that we would eventually continue. But the other day we were like, we're not going to continue this. If he can still work after we get the results and he doesn't have, like, an arthritis condition, then he was planning on going back to work and just...
We were going to, basically the vets had told us there was a bunch of different things we could do to help make sure that he could work as long as possible and not be uncomfortable. We were going to switch him to a
joint mobility food.
There was some supplements we were going to do. We were going to add salmon oil to his diet to get more omega-3. Right. We were going to do reduced exercise. So, what we had done before were basically he and Arlo were getting a very similar amount of exercise, because Arlo does, like, heavy mobility and Toby needed to gain muscle mass. We had kind of decided we weren't going to do that anymore.
No,
Toby
and I
was just going to get one walk per day.
And we had a miscommunication. Like, I had said a couple times, I said, Toby is not doing well with this. And she was like, well, just keep trying. And because we didn't think anything was wrong, and I don't blame you for saying that.
I legitimately thought that he was, because in the first mobility test, and I don't even think we included this in the video. In his first mobility, you can cut this if you want. We were going to do that, and then there was also, like, a medication that we were going to put him on, like a medication trial that's kind of like an injection thing that they do to help prevent arthritis for longer. And you do, like, an injection every week for, like, a couple weeks, and then you're done, and then you just kind of see how the dog does after that.
Does.
But it didn't get to that point because they told us to get the x-rays, so we got the x-rays, and it came back that it was...
That was something for his hips. We don't know if it could be done for the tail, and most likely, I'm guessing it can't.
Moving forward, we are not 100% sure
what's gonna happen.
When
we're recording this, we don't know what's gonna happen.
Right. Today is June 2nd. It's 3:00 on Wednesday. As soon as Michaela called me this morning with the news that they got the results, I drove over here.
No, you took like an hour, but yeah.
I have to get dressed, okay?
You have to get dressed. You cannot come out when you're naked, okay?
We are going to...
We're having a sit down with my parents to just confirm how we want to move forward in terms of Toby. Most likely, and obviously I will keep you guys updated. Most likely he will be living with my parents as a pet. However,
there's two kind of trails we're going to take, okay?
Right.
So I mean, I don't know which one is more desirable in your mind, but I guess there's three options. There's one where basically Toby just retires, he stays home as a pet, and you don't have a service dog anymore. Then there's the second option, where we get all the treatment and stuff for Toby. He gets all the treatment and all the lifestyle changes. which will happen either way.
Right.
Like no matter what we do, that'll happen as long as it's within our control and not just her parents, because her parents might decide to do something different, but at least if it's within our control, he will have everything that he possibly needs to be as happy and healthy as possible. The second option is he becomes an ESA. We get a letter from Michaela's psychiatrist.
Yay, fun.
And he comes with us to school as an emotional support animal. Number 3 is Toby retires, stays here as a pet, and with her parents, and we start looking for a prospect. That obviously, as a trainer, it concerns me in the sense that like it involves me, not concerns in the other way. It involves me in the way that no matter what she does, as her best friend, I will support her no matter what happens. But it concerns me in the sense that, well, obviously if we get a prospect, I have to, be involved in training and stuff like that.
Sure.
The situation that we're in now, basically any prospect that we're looking at cannot be a puppy.
Correct.
Because
unfortunately, I would love to have a puppy, but not right now.
Because we are moving into an apartment. And she is still in school, and things like that you don't really have time for right now. And I can't take over that for you, because then the puppy will bond with me.
Right.
I'm not necessarily going to talk about things that, because I think people might expect me to be like, oh, what am I going to do differently with this new dog compared to Toby?
Because here's the thing about that, and I don't know how much we're going to keep in, but we'll watch it back and decide. Just a reminder that Brielle was not the trainer for at least a good half of his being with us.
Right.
But my trainer was going through health issues, and I think I've talked to you guys about this before.
Right. So that's why, she switched trainers, and it wasn't necessarily
it's more like 60-70% of his training was done.
Time-wise. And that's not to be rude or anything. It's just, I think that, first of all, I have a lot more access. I'm here, all the time.
You have more resources.
I have more resources in terms of, I work with a large program. You can decide to keep this in or not. I do have professional education and certification and a license. Arlo, enough. So I know certain things that trainers that don't have those things might not know. Mm-hmm. So in terms of suggesting what I would do differently when picking a prospect besides instead of Toby, I feel like I don't want to be disrespectful to that trainer's process. I don't know what necessarily process she goes through when choosing dogs, in terms of when she goes with a rescue. Obviously, this dog will not be a puppy. Toby was not a puppy, but he
was theoretically 2. Obviously, we
know
now that it's definitely.
We know now that he was
probably more like 3 or 4 at the time of adoption.
Right, because he's probably 6 or 7 now.
Yeah.
Just based on these results now.
Yeah.
Because there's certain things that don't.
And I'm sure the Embark will back that up.
In terms of age, it'll be probably a year and a half, a year to a year and a half. And I will likely choose from a rescue that does testing for any sort of...
Does more
health-related stuff before the dog goes home. So the rescue that I'm thinking of going with is a rescue I've gone with for prospects for other clients before. And they do testing week of adoption. So the day before you take home the dog, you put down your payment and stuff, they do testing that day, so you get results the next day before you take the dog home. And if the dog has anything, they are required to pay for all treatment if you still decide to take the dog home. And you can get your money back if the dog isn't healthy.
No, you
So
shouldn't.
in terms of that is what I will be going with. She has a desire to get a female dog, so I will obviously take that into consideration.
We are going for a lab or a golden retriever.
Probably more likely going towards lab because they're
If we cannot
larger.
find anything in existence, then obviously we will branch out, but
Look towards other things. But obviously I am more seated towards looking at temperament and health first before anything. Labs and Goldens are just breeds that meet the needs of her disability and the level of experience she has. So that's kind of what we're looking at. I have not even considered starting looking at prospects yet because of the fact that she still has to have that conversation with her parents.
and again, things might change drastically next time we talk about this.
Yeah, but this is just kind of a video to explain what's going on.
I'm of the belief that even though some of my health has changed since we started with Toby, I still think a service dog is beneficial to me.
And it might be a different focus than before.
Correct.
I feel like originally you focused
just POTS.
on medical alert and on medical response, and
Because
feel
I
like
didn't think that my psychiatric needs were important enough. And I still struggle with that. And what
I feel
God,
like
I'm gonna go into a bunch of different rabbit holes.
I feel like your like
My
main disabling condition has changed.
Correct. My care providers are really good at making me feel like there's nothing wrong with me when I think there is.
So in my mind, just watching her as her friend, seeing kind of the way that you are in public. Originally, I remember POTS was the focus. You wanted a service dog to do medical alert and medical response.
So that if I did go out in public, the rare times that I did, I wouldn't be dead on the floor. Because
Since then, her fainting episodes have
stopped.
basically gone away.
Which I still have POTS, and that's a whole different
She still has
conversation.
POTS, but she because of the medication and stuff that she's taking, she no longer faints. However, we do train the fainting response because on the off chance that if she does like forget medication or something and it does happen, we want to be sure that the dog is prepared. However,
But falling response is more of a bigger thing. Like, I used to fall and hurt myself and just fall all the time.
but I feel like the main disabling condition that you struggle with right now
is
is more of
psychiatric.
your psychiatric disabilities in terms of like those are the things you use more, the tasks.
Correct.
So even when he did have the ability to like do mobility and all that stuff, you were still using those psychiatric tasks
Right.
more. So I feel like
The next dog's not going to be just psychiatric.
right,
Obviously.
we're not going to change anything in terms of tasks unless the dog is unable to do something. But obviously when we're adopting a dog, we're going to make sure that the dog is able to do everything we need to, unless, if the dog doesn't get approved for mobility for whatever reason. But we'll obviously do that a lot earlier on. So we'll know that earlier on. And
you might be asking why I'm going with a female, and the answer is that I feel personally, and it's dependent on every person, I feel personally that I bond better with females. Not that I don't bond with Toby, but he does some weird things. Then just because, and like Briella said, some people, usually boy dogs work better with girl handlers and things like that, but I personally have had more, bond with female dogs.
so in terms of that, we will be looking more at female dogs. And
Because we want a strong bond.
right. That way we don't have to work on it as much the way that we did with you and Toby originally. So in terms of going forward on our social media, I am still planning on releasing all of the videos that have Toby working. However, I'm going to be changing my premiere schedule so that those come out without a premiere, and I'll be putting in the description a link to this video and an explanation saying Toby is no longer working, he's medically retired. Which is why you need to edit this video today so that it goes out today.
Why? Because you have a premiere tomorrow.
Yes.
The secret to why Gabby wants this done right now. It's not because she wants to be protected. It's because she wants me to
Cover my ass.
Yeah.
In terms of my social media, I am not going to delete any videos. I'm not going to do anything like that. Just in videos that are coming out, like that from today onward, I will put like anything that we've done working in, like with Toby working, or training, I will put that disclaimer in there, in the description. I do have videos where he's just being a pet, basically. I'm not going to put a disclaimer in there. Right. I don't feel the need to. I'm not going to change anything about those videos. In terms of like social media, I don't have anything necessarily that, makes me, like, I don't think I need to change anything else.
Right. The reason why, and I'll go into my schedule in a minute in an explanation. The reason why she's not going to do premieres is also because I'm not doing premieres of videos with Toby working anymore. And that is because I don't feel like I have the emotional strength to do that right now. Obviously, I've got videos to edit of him working. I've got a ton of them.
And we're still going, well, I guess I don't know what your plan is, but in my opinion, you should still upload all of those.
Correct. But they're going to be really hard for me to edit, and I'm going to be really upset. So sitting and talking with you guys through it may be more difficult than I would like right now. So because of that, I will not be premiering any videos with him working moving forward. Obviously, we're not going to stop making content. I may decide that I need a break if I'm feeling really overwhelmed, and right now I am. But I want to get these videos out for you guys because I have some that are waiting to post. I'm just shy. So you guys will get those videos. You may not see me go live. You may not see me have premieres. Unless it's like an important video that me and Gab worked on, then obviously. Like Home Depot, I may still do a premiere on. In this video, I think I'll do a premiere and just have us both be there.
If you do it tonight.
Yeah, tonight. Hopefully I'll do it at like 8. I don't want to be bombarded with questions on other social media, per se. I don't want a ton of DMs like, why are you retiring him? Maybe that's like a stupid decision. I don't need criticism. So if you post some rude comment about Toby retiring, I'm obviously going to delete it. We're not doing that. No negativity allowed, period.
Because this factually, and I don't even give a shit. This factually is the right decision.
Correct.
There is not another choice that could have been made. So,
if you argue with that, if you start like calling him names,
you're just wrong.
You're wrong, and it'll get deleted, and you'll probably be blocked from my channel. Hardcore truth.
If you wanna yell at somebody about it, then yell at me because I would love to be yelled at.
I'm gonna post on Instagram as if he's a pet. This video, like, obviously you guys aren't gonna get closure on what's happening. By the time this video posts, we will,
hopefully.
And whether we share that during the premiere, I guess
I don't think we should. I think we should make a part 2.
We will make a part 2, but on a different day.
That's better edited. Yeah.
You guys can see that Toby is fine.
He doesn't have any idea what's going on.
Yeah, he doesn't have any idea. He's not acting. The only thing he's probably gonna notice is when I leave, because we have created a bond, and now he's gonna have all that separation anxiety that we have to start doing training with that soon. My mom said so.
So we will work on it to make sure that no matter what, he will be comfortable in whatever situation we do. By the way, that's his microchip.
Yeah, if you guys see that, that's his microchip.
I was gonna say it looks really bad on camera.
I mean, the vet was like, "It's a mass," and we're like, "No,
it's his microchip."
It's his microchip. We assume.
So the only thing that's really changed in his behavior are those things we mentioned earlier. But when he's laying around at home, or when he goes on like just a short walk, he's fine. He was playing with Arlo a few minutes ago. His like behavior hasn't really changed. His mood hasn't changed.
He's done his service, and now it is time for him to retire. As hard as that is to say. I feel like it's hard because, like, I haven't cried a lot today, like I did for, like, when Mia died, obviously.
I don't think there's anything else that we need to really talk about. If you guys have any questions, please
let us know. I don't think we're gonna go live tonight, but
Either put them in the premiere, obviously, if we're premiering this, or leave them in the comments below, and likely 90% of the time I will probably be answering them.
yeah, obviously
From her account, but,
correct.
but answering them.
I may not respond to messages on different platforms or comments or anything. For a while, it might be Brielle in terms of YouTube.
Just depending on
How I'm doing.
how she's doing. However, I think that theoretically you're gonna keep posting on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
You wanna say?
Will you close it out? Because I'm socially awkward.
Thank you guys for your support
And
for
being
Toby.
part of Toby's journey.
And just because he isn't a service dog anymore doesn't mean that he isn't still gonna be loved and have a really happy life.
We're not rehoming him.
Right. Either way, he will either stay with her parents or will go with her to college.
He will not
as
be
an
going
ESA.
far.
So, yeah. So, thank you guys so much for all your support. And if you wanna... Oh, there he is.
There's the retired old man. Blank, blank. He's gonna take a naps.
So, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you guys in whatever we make next. Don't worry, I will make sure that she continues to upload. I'm not letting you take some huge long break again because, girl, if you ever want to get monetized...
I feel like it's never gonna happen at this point, but like...
It might. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you guys later.